Padgett Messages Discussions. Discussions of individual messages received by James Padgett between 1914 and 1923 from large variety of spirits. This is session 4, part 3 of the discussion, How Divine Love Enters the Human Soul, where Jesus and Mary continue discussing how divine love enters the human soul and the 3 parts of the human, by focusing on the second part of the message from Jesus on the subject, given to James Padgett on the 8th of May, 1916. This session was recorded on the 26th of July, 2017, from 11:30 a.m. in Wilkesdale, Queensland, Australia.
All right.
We're back from our
little mini break. So let's continue. We're up to the divine love is a thing.
That's right, yes.
I'll just check that's true, but I think that is.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right? Yeah.
The divine love is a thing entirely apart from the nature of man, even in its purest state, and was never conferred on man as was the natural love. And consequently, when man obtains this divine love, and it becomes a part of his soul qualities, his nature, as it were, changes, and he becomes a new creature. An additional something has been conferred upon him, and it becomes impossible for him to remain the mere man that he was, and he always would be, except for this change of his nature. Yeah.
So here again, you're saying that this divine love, God's love, it's a whole new substance. It's not and it's also a gift, you're really saying here, aren't you?
Yes, it's like God is gifting a part of God's self. So God's divine love is a part of God's self. And God's gifting this part of God's self. And being an infinite being, he can gift an infinite amount to any person who desires to receive it. And the person who initially desires to receive it and who's never received it before does not have a part of this in them.
Yeah.
And does not have a part of God's nature in them. And it's only by God conferring the divine love that they obtain a part of God's nature and become, as it were, having a part now, having a true relationship with God by having a part of God's nature in them, having received that part of God's nature inside of them.
Yeah. And he will say the person becomes something, there's a new potential, basically, you're saying here, aren't you? There's a new potential this person now has, because without this gift, this love, he would have remained in a certain state.
He would always remain as he was created to be, the image of God. Never anything more. That's where he would always have been. But now, not only does the instant you receive some divine love, the change begins. And this is why it's quite easy to tell if a person has received God's love or not, because you can see some of the changes, and particularly feel some of the changes that the person has made, even though they may still have other unethical or immoral actions or ways. You can tell when a person's received some of the love. And once the love starts its work, if the person allows and works along with the love,
yes, that's the
love can continue flowing in and continue doing more work, and it begins the metamorphosis process, if you like. So a person can be in the hills and receive some of God's love, and their metamorphosis has begun, and it will be completed at the time they enter the first celestial heaven, which is the 8th sphere of the spirit world. And that's when their metamorphosis of the first stage, if you like, of their metamorphosis is complete. And now they are always able to receive God's love.
Yeah. Once.
And the soul itself looks completely different, technically. If you can see the soul of a person who enters the 8th sphere and compare that with the soul of a person in the 6th sphere, you will notice major differences in the soul. There's even major differences in the spirit body as a result of the soul being different.
Yes.
There are more chakra points appear than the 7 normal chakra points that exist in the 6th sphere spirit. And so you get chakra points that begin appearing, And by the time you've made the transition, there's normally 15 chakra points that have appeared by the time of the 8th sphere. And so now the person is, you can tell, not only are they now a changed person, a changed creature, but they are a different creature. And in fact, this is what causes some confusion on the part of people in the 6th dimension. Because when these people who are now different creatures come to visit them, they see that they have a different energy systems in their body. They're able to examine that in their spirit body. And they go, hang on a sec, you're different than I am. Does that mean God made 2 types of creatures?
Yeah.
Well, and they become sort of confused about it.